All right, thanks. My dad pops in.
Hi. Just want you to know we're all counting on you.
A year and some change ago, I made the first Answering Your Poll Questions video, and I put it on my old channel, Kelsey's Poll Journey. I have since created this new channel and gotten a lot more poll experience under my proverbial belt. I don't actually own any belts, so I thought this was a good time for a follow-up. Over on my community tab, I asked you to ask me some questions about pole dancing, and you delivered. I'll be grouping similar questions together, and I will do my best to answer them all as thoroughly as possible. Before that, let me ask that you please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks! Question number 1. Any pole regrets or things I would do differently if I started my pole journey from scratch? Yes, I would get a chrome pole instead of a powder-coated one. Longtime Kelsey fans have heard this rant like 1,000 times, but basically what happened was, when I invested in my Loop-It pole, which I hope to use for many, many more years to come, I decided to go with powder-coated because I had always slipped off the chrome studio poles, and I thought, powder-coated, yeah, that sounds so grippy, that sounds so different, I'm gonna go with that. But no. After waiting 6 weeks and reorganizing my whole downstairs to create my little pole studio, my powder-coated pole arrived, and I realized, oh no, this is more slippery than chrome. I have since visited my studio with the chrome poles just to do a little bit of training while I was away, and I could weep. I had so much better grip on those poles. I was busting out tricks that I thought were months and months away, and when I returned home, I was so devastated to find that my pole was so slippery. It was even worse than it had ever felt before. It took me weeks to get used to it again. It is different for everybody. Some people might really benefit from a different finish on their pole, but as for me, I regret investing all of my pole money into a powder-coated pole instead of a chrome one. I also regret starting my first YouTube channel with a university Gmail account, but we don't need to get into that right now. Question number 2. How do you get back into the groove after a long break from pole? In early 2020, I was doing silks, rope, and pole 3 to 4 days a week at least. Then the world shut down, and I went from that to none. I had an entire year break from when I touched a studio pole to when I finally got my home pole set up, and I had to start over from zero with my endurance, pain tolerance, and aerial specific strength. And it took me a long time to get my groove back. Here's what helped. First, lean into the frustration. If you're expecting your first day back on the pole to be an hours-long extravaganza where you bust out 15 Supermen after 3 aerial inversions and you end the whole thing in a middle split, you're gonna be sorely disappointed. Just allow yourself to feel upset and frustrated and sweaty and sore. Make it a 20-minute session instead of an hour. I mean, it sounds a little counterintuitive, but if you go into it expecting that you are probably going to get pissed off, it'll help you actually deal with the feeling of being pissed off. Next, give yourself little rewards. Maybe you can get yourself like a new cute pole outfit to celebrate getting back into training. Or maybe you choreograph a routine to your favorite song and you add that to the end of a conditioning session or something. Giving yourself a little prize when you get back on the pole will incentivize you to stick with it. My prize was the freedom of having a pole at home, meaning I could practice whatever and whenever I wanted, could listen to whatever music I wanted without the restrictions of poling in a studio. And remember why you took that break in the first place. Did your studio close, or did your life get too overwhelming? Are you recovering from an injury? Keeping the reason for your break in mind can help you kind of center your pole intentions and feel more grateful for the chance to train again. Question number 3. My goal pole moves, and what am I focusing on during this training cycle? You know, I feel like I always say I want to do an Iron X, but doesn't every pole dancer want to do an Iron X? Currently, my goal move is an Aisha and everything that comes with that, but honestly, I'm not really comfortable teaching myself advanced tricks at home because I don't have a spotter or an instructor near me to make sure I'm doing it right or to help me keep my body in the correct position. So it's probably going to be a long time before I start getting a lot of actual advanced tricks. So for now, I'm focusing on transitions and control. Like, okay, I can reliably get into a Superman, but where do I go from there? I can reliably, mostly, do a shoulder mount, but can I bring my legs slowly back down to the floor without crashing them back to the mat? Can I try to do my inverts with straight legs instead of bending them? Now that I have a pretty good basis of strength, I think this is a great time for me to start really cleaning up those foundations, the stuff that takes years to master. I feel like that's what I'm working on right now. Question number 4. How to manage very sweaty palms and frustration while pole dancing. Sweaty palms and frustration are my constant companions while pole dancing. You might watch one of my videos and think that I'm alone on screen, but oh no. Sweaty palms and frustration are in that video with me every time. Let's talk about the sweaty hands first. I would recommend checking out possible health conditions first. For example, something like hyperhidrosis, which causes you to sweat excessively, or I had a friend whose new form of birth control was making them have really oily sweat, so the only way they could even grab the pole at all was with gloves. But if your hands are just run-of-the-mill sweaty like mine, here are some things that might help. Some people in the pole community might make you feel guilty for using grip aids or insinuate that it's cheating somehow, but I say use as much grip as you want, whenever you want it. As long as it's not destroying the finish of the pole or your skin, go for it. I personally have been using way too much eye tack to get through these chilly winter months because the pole just does not get as warm as it needs to be really grippy. But I don't think you were asking in this question, how do you improve grip? I think you were asking, how do you deal when it is so frustrating that you just can't grip the pole? This is a frustrating sport. Not only do some people make it look extremely easy when it is extremely not, but it is also often painful and humiliating. It's like, for what possible reason could we all be shelling out hundreds of dollars to strip down in public to get covered in bruises? Don't answer that question. Okay, frustration. Learn your own frustration cues. Are you mildly annoyed and it's time to just move on to training a different trick? Are you genuinely pissed off and you need to take a minute to go sit in the corner, drink your water, and just kind of let off a little bit of steam? If I start yelling or crying, that is when I know I need to put myself into official timeout for the day. It is just not a good idea for me to try anything new if I am just feeling that frustrated and angry, because I'm probably going to hurt myself, forcing myself to get into positions that I am just not in the right state for. Sometimes the knowledge that I'm filming forces me to tamp down my frustration. A lot of the times in my videos, you might see me do a sort of cheesy little grimace to the camera. That is to keep me from screaming and crying and being really upsetting. In my experience, the most frustration doesn't come from when you yourself are messing up a trick. It is when you are messing up a trick and everyone else is getting it. The easiest and quickest way to ruin your pole time is to compare yourself to others. If you are comparing yourself to others, that's just gonna pile on more frustration to the weight that is already breaking your back. If you can let that go and remind yourself that you're doing it for yourself, that's gonna help a lot. Honestly, the thing that you all say the most in my comments is thank you for showing how frustrating it is. You can rely on me to always remind you that this is very frustrating and you are not crazy for experiencing frustration doing something so frustrating. Question number 5. What are some pole milestone poses that I think show someone's level? This is an interesting question because I feel like I've been seeing discussions lately on the pole dancing subreddit where people are like, oh, you Americans have such a low level for your pole dancing. Everything that you do in your advanced classes is stuff that we do on day 2. I don't know what region that accent was from. In my mind, anything that involves an inversion or more than one climb off the ground automatically qualifies it as intermediate. When I trained in a studio, inversions came as a part of pole 1B, which you could only get into by testing out of pole 1A. I think it's harder to qualify something as an advanced trick because a lot of things past the intermediate level really depend on your body shape, your flexibility, and a bunch of other outside factors like that. For example, for me, a jade split is reliable and simple to get into because I have these big sturdy thighs that are going to help me easily hold onto the pole in that upside down position. Someone with a much smaller body than mine might qualify that as an advanced move that takes them several years to get because the pole just doesn't nestle against their body in the same way it does for me, but they might be busting out aerial shoulder mounts, no problem. Question number 6. How did you achieve a previous nemesis trick? When I took classes in the studio back in the day, outside leg hang was my nemesis. I could barely invert, and I certainly couldn't figure out how to hang all my weight off of just one measly little knee pit, and there really was not enough time in class for the instructor to troubleshoot with me one-on-one. So I booked a private lesson with the instructor, and we spent pretty much the entire hour working just on the outside leg hangs and the mechanics while she corrected my positioning, and finally, I got it. So that's how I did it. I asked for help, and I focused all of the time in on that one specific thing. Now that I train alone at home, I'll add the trick to my to-do list for each training session, working on it a little more each time. I'll record myself so I can see if I'm doing anything wrong, and sometimes I'll add a pole accessory like grippy socks or the pole wrap to see if that'll help. If you're interested in seeing how that process plays out for me, I have a whole playlist on my channel where I focus on just learning one move at a time. I will link that in the description box below. Hello, Editing Kelsey here. I somehow managed to not include an entire question in this video, so I'm just going to answer it now. The question is, how often and how long do I exercise? Pole specifically, I do 3 days a week, about 45 minutes to an hour. I also supplement that with 2 days a week of other exercise. Currently it is weight training, and then I give myself 2 complete rest days a week. But with pole, when I first started, I could only do about 15 minutes at a time, maximum 3 days a week. It was more like 2 days a week because I needed all that time to recover from the pain. In your comment, you say you're a complete beginner and you're ordering a pole for the home. So for you, I would recommend starting out with 20 to 30 minutes at a time of pole training, maybe only a couple of times a week until your body gets used to it. But yes, currently, because I'm an intermediate pole dancer, 3 sessions a week. That sometimes changes. Sometimes my mental health does not allow me to do 3 days a week, and sometimes I feel like I could do 7 days a week. So it's all about listening to your body. Okay, I'm gonna turn it back to a pre-recorded Kelsey now. Question number 7. What is something you wish was different about pole? You might expect me to wish that the perception of pole was different, that people didn't automatically sexualize it or look down on strippers and sex workers. But I'm choosing to view this question as something I wish was different within the world of pole, not from the outside looking in. I wish pole was not so intrinsically wrapped up with gender that we could do away with this vaguely uncomfortable divine feminine rhetoric we've got going here. Let me be clear. If you pole dance and it helps you tap into your inner goddess, or it gives you a sense of gender euphoria, that is awesome for you. I know tons of women and femmes have used pole as a way to reclaim their sexuality and their womanhood, and I think that is beautiful. But I wish that the entire industry did not have to be like, inner goddess this, expressing your womanhood that. I'm a cisgender woman, like, I guess, but I just, I feel deeply uncomfortable in any space where you are telling me that I am a gorgeous, feminine goddess and I am unleashing my yonic energy as I twirl around the pole. Like, I guess part of my issue is that most of the time my pole training sessions are like ugly, sweaty, stinky, uncomfortable, and like that's normal. I know that that's how it goes for me. But if I'm pole dancing under the expectation that every pole session is supposed to bring me closer to my inner Aphrodite, that I'm gonna feel bad about these like unproductive or inelegant sessions because I'm not connecting to that divine female that you think I should be being. Like, I guess it's just, it seems like there is a performance of womanhood that has been added into pole dancing, and to separate the two of them would be like trying to take off a tattoo from skin, and this is really hard to explain, and I hope any of that made sense. Again, I'm not trying to poop on you if you feel like pole helped you reclaim your womanhood. That is just the thing I wish would change. I wish it did not have to be, you must reclaim your womanhood with every pole session. You must let your hair down and tap into Athena's menstrual cup. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Perhaps you can let me know in the comments below if any of that made sense to you or how pole affects your expression of your gender. And I am gonna just go to the next question. Okay. Question number 8. Do I have any warm-up or conditioning exercises I can share? I actually have a full warm-up with me video and a conditioning video that I will put in the description box below. Question number 9. Who are my current pole role models or inspirations? Is it weird that I don't really have any pole inspirations? I think that's because to me the word inspiration implies I want to be exactly like you and do exactly what you're doing, and that is not productive thinking for me when it comes to pole dancing. Like, I know it will take me at least a decade to do what you are doing, but in terms of role models, I have a few. I have always loved Roz the Diva, who preaches intersectionality, accessibility, and realism in the pole world. I also really value following Vertical Jones, who does some incredible tricks, but also always shares his frustration and the process it takes for him to get there. I really like following Hijabi Luscious because she's not afraid to clap back at anyone who's trying to shame strippers or religious women in pole spaces. I get the most value out of you all, though, to be honest. You, my subscribers, and my peers. I find it really comforting to see somebody who's at my level or lower finally achieve a trick that they have been struggling with for a long time. I much prefer seeing that to like 1,000 perfect combos on Instagram posted by someone who's been doing this for a decade now. I love when you all share with me that you learned a trick for the first time, or you competed for the first time, or you performed in a showcase. Your comments genuinely inspire me to keep going when I feel like I don't have anything to share or I'm in a pole slump. Question number 10. What is my favorite style of pole? For example, exotic, flow, tricks, etc. I don't think I can safely say I've ever actually done exotic pole, what with all like the splits and the kips and everything. And I don't think that I really have done flow. I mean, I've learned like choreography once or twice. I think my style would be defined as tricks because I like wipe my hands on a towel, put a bunch of eye tack on my hands, do a single trick, come down, and then repeat the process again. So we're gonna go with tricks. Our final question, am I worried that posting my videos publicly will affect my career? You know, of all things, posting my videos publicly has actually helped my career. Let me explain. Please remember, I am coming to you live from my pillar of privilege, okay? Yeah, my white, cisgender, non-disabled, non-fat, non-sex worker body can pretty much do whatever it wants on the internet and people are gonna be cool with it. Well, they sexualize it. Okay, with that caveat in mind, I am someone who works in the creative sphere. That is my current career, that is my desired career. So creating this YouTube channel, which is of course mostly focused on pole dancing, is a way for me to get a lot more experience, like script writing and video editing and social media management. And now that I audio describe all of my videos, that's also helped me get a ton of audio description experience, which I actually talked about in my last job interview, and that is the field that I'm trying to enter into. Let me just step back for a second and go from talking about me to just more general. I do think we are in the kind of golden age of pole dancing right now. A few years ago, if you told someone, oh, I'm taking a pole dancing class, their first response might be, oh, so you're a stripper. Now I feel like it's a lot more common to hear, oh, I tried that once and it was so hard. And then, oh, so you're a stripper. But I totally understand any reluctance to put your stuff out there for fear of repercussion because, yeah, it still happens this day and age. I can sit here all I want and be like, oh, well, I would never work for an employer who would slut shame me, so hee hee hee. But like, what if that was my only option for a job? If you're at all concerned about this, you can create a separate account for your pole things. You can always wear like a mask or a wig while you pole dance. You could wear leggings or be more covered up when you pole dance. You could keep your accounts private. I wish you didn't have to do any of those things, but I understand if you do. But yeah, as someone who has lived this very charmed, very privileged, very weird little life, pole dancing and posting about it publicly has actually opened career doors for me, and I wish for it to do the same for you. And that's it. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted a question. I hope any of these answers were intelligible, and please feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you agree, disagree, you've got more questions, you want to tell me my eyeliner looks good, I did work hard on it. Bye! The subscribe button appears on the right. A suggested video and playlist appear on the left.